Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Are you there, Jacqueline?
I am here, present and waiting.
Welcome to Own It, the podcast. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good, actually. A lot to live up to, though, with Judith, So...
I don't think Judith's under any illusions or worries that anyone's going to replace her, but we've chosen the best of all the people we could think of to stand in for her for a little while so she could have a little rest. So Jacqueline Rogers, founder of Athena, the Athena Network. I'm not allowed to make it an interview, so I can't ask you too many questions about yourself. But if you just want to take a couple of minutes to let our usual podcast listeners know who you are, because they may not have heard you from the summit.
Oh, right. No, that's true. So, yeah, absolutely right. Founder of the Athena Network, networking organisation specifically for female entrepreneurs and executives. I have developed the business by franchising. And as I mentioned on the summit, one of the reasons I did that was as a direct result of meeting with you and Judith many years ago.
Wow.
And being given the book, The Myth Revisited. So I didn't know that that's what I was going to do at the time, but there was something about that book, that it just really excited me, really just struck me. When your heart cracks open and you just kind of want to it was all in,
a glimmer of your potential future.
It was, but I didn't know what that glimmer would be. Here we are 11 years later now. This is the 11th year of trading, although we're experiencing our 10th anniversary, but 11 years of trading. And I looked back and I thought, wow, how a business can start. And I'm going to be talking more about that. That's one of the challenges that I want to bring to the podcast this week, is how I didn't know what it was going to look like. I just knew that there was something really exciting and there was that hidden potential, as you call it, in front of me.
Yeah.
So my role is to look after franchisees, to hold the vision for the Athena Network. And in addition to all of that, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I like to get my fingers stuck in lots of pies and do lots of things, and coaching, mentoring, training. But I also have a little Amazon business because I wanted to find out what it would be like to I wanted to find out what it would be like to white label a product. So for me, working in business, what I'm looking at is amplification and leverage. How can I leverage my business? And for me, it's through amplification. And the one area that I hadn't actually had a little play with was white labeling.
Yeah.
So I decided to have a little go with that. And interestingly enough, with one of your speakers from the summit, Jo Barnes. So Jo was running a course along with Rhett, her husband, and came highly recommended. And I thought, I'm going to give this a little go. I've loved it. I've really, really loved it. I have one product. I may have more. I don't know. But it's giving me an insight as to how you can just pick a physical product up and then rebrand it. So I'm always looking at different businesses and how to style them. They excite me. They really do. Businesses, that is.
Yeah. I'm still in touch with Neil Asher, who I used to work with in Raw. And he does a lot of this stuff. And in fact, he's just teaching people now how to do exactly the same thing, but on Alibaba. Because I don't know if people don't know, but Amazon is only just starting to think about opening up to Australia, whereas everyone in Australia buys from Alibaba. And Alibaba have just started. They've always been a wholesale arm, so you could buy wholesale. They've just started a retail side. So Neil's kids buy from Alibaba rather than buying from Amazon. So he's now taking he's appealing to people who've done well on Amazon, because Alibaba is 5 times bigger than Amazon.
It absolutely is. And you can lose days of your life in there, Nicola. You really can. I have lost days of my life in there.
And the thing,
because it's one of the resources I use. Yeah.
I keep looking at it, but because I'm a creator star personality type, I can't quite bring myself to just choose someone else's product and then white label it. I always feel drawn towards creating something of my own. And in fact, I do have a product I'd like to get prototyped and then do it. So you'd recommend it? It's good fun, is it? Is it the kind of thing you
It's
could do as
really
a
good
hobby
fun.
on the side of your day job or your business?
It, it pretty much is a hobby at the moment. And what frightens me is actually if I stopped treating it, not frightens me in a bad way, kind of like how much work could I take on, and more of that later as well. But
Yeah.
it's if I stopped treating it like a hobby and I started to treat it like a business, just how much revenue would I be able to generate? But interesting, you mentioned about the creator star profile. That's my profile as well, Nicola.
Right.
And I'm absolutely with you. I want my own brand. I want to create, all of the creator star things. But actually, you can do that. So I'm sure that Neil will explain that in his training. You can literally, that's what white labeling is all about. It just means that somebody's created I don't know, crayons. Let's just use crayons as an example. And crayons is crayons is crayons, unless they sparkle unicorn dust out of them, or something special like that, then they're just always going to be the same. But what you do, it's the way you package it, the way you market it, the way you present, the funky things that you can do with social media. I've got a young lady working for me on the social media, and she's loving what she's doing, creating all of the posts and things. So a creator star could definitely do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking I ought to point Sarah, because Sarah's my sister's gone into business with a friend of hers who is an angel healer, or was an angel healer, and she's got 16,000 likes on her page. She's got lots of angel cards. She's got lots of physical product that probably would go a bomb on Amazon, but neither of us know how to do it. So that and I have access to an Amazon course, but I've never dared look at it because I just know I'd get sucked down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and and the Joe and Rex is particularly good. What I like about their course actually is it's really succinct. There are others, because I'm in another as well, because that's just kind of the way I roll. I like to have a look at different teachers and how they're doing things. But Joe and Rex is so simple. It's kind of step one, do this. Step two, do that.
Oh.
And if you follow all of that, then it's easy. But then I can allow my creator star profile to really come to life when I'm working on the branding. I have brilliant fun on the branding.
You love, and I just want to say at this stage that your branding for your mastermind is absolutely stunning.
Thank you. Yeah, I particularly love it, and that's completely different to the branding for my Amazon business. But that's where I get the juice. That's the creator in me. As art, I love painting, but there's nothing I'd want to put in Tate Gallery. They wouldn't accept it anyway. But my art is my brand.
Yeah.
So creating a brand. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Joe Barnes, another one of our summit speakers. Go and have a listen to Joe Barnes' interview. Go and have a listen to Jackie Rogers' interview as well. And you recommend Joe's course because it's no fluff, just straight down the line. I like that. I don't want anyone
straight down the line. Yeah, and she does it. What I really liked, I didn't feel I personally needed it, but a lot of business owners do. She's really clear at the beginning about all the blocks, the mindset stuff.
Yeah.
So, you're going to start doing it and then you're going to stop doing it. And then, we blame the trainer, we blame the course and all of these things. I love how she set it all up at the beginning. And just follow the process. It's really, really simple. or get a 14-year-old child to follow the process for you and create an Amazon business. There you go.
I know that Andy Shaw's son David has started his own Amazon business, and my kids. In fact, funny, we must get into talking about our week. So. Just very briefly, I'll do mine and then we can hear about your week. Phoebe and Nelson are back from Ibiza, and they were both round here yesterday because Nelson's got his first. He wants to be a music producer, DJ, but he also wants to learn how to do digital marketing because he wants an extra income stream. And they're both, he's been working at the pub for 6 months. I think, he's been working at the previous pub for a year and a half. So I think he's sick of minimum wage living, and he'd like to learn something where it's a bit better than minimum wage. And they both stayed in a DJ's luxury villa on Ibiza, where it had all the amenities, and there was a fantastic sound system around the pool, so they could lie on their sunbeds with their iPhones and program in the next tune and things like that. So they both come back very fired up to start getting serious about making a living. And Phoebe's been doing makeup videos, and she's got a website already. Nelson's got a website. So it's like I've suddenly got two very demanding clients who aren't paying me. And they just turn up when they have a brain fart. Yeah, they turn up when they have a brain fart. They want mummy to sort something out for them, and everything has to be dropped. And then they require feeding as well. It's really most disruptive.
I completely hear you, and it's funny, isn't it? It's kind of like when their parents are entrepreneurs, it's kind of what hope is there for the children to get a job. I wouldn't want mine necessarily to do that anyway, but that's so funny. Mine tell me that they pay me in love, so I don't know what commercially that's worth, but it's okay.
I was quite brutal with mine. When they got to 16, it was okay, go and get a job, and I'm stopping your pocket money until you do. And then when you get a job, I'll start your pocket money again, because I knew that they had to be forced to get into the habit of going to work, so they know what work discipline is. And I also knew that they had to find out how grim it is working minimum wage, so that they would get over that. And so I incentivized them to go and get a minimum wage job, which is all kids can get around here, by paying them their pocket money as well on top. But if they lost their job, the pocket money stopped until they got another one. So mean.
I love that. I mean, that's a really great psychological way of doing it. I did a similar thing, I did, but mine was with the car. So both of them wanted a car, and I said, that's fine, but you go and get a job and you earn, and whatever you earn, I'll match fund. And I was like, please God, don't let it be tens of thousands. Yeah. But that's what I did. I match funded.
Oh,
so whatever they put to one side, so whatever they saved. So I guess it was a lesson in teaching them to put money aside for something that they really wanted, and whatever it was, I added into the pot exactly the same. So then they were able to buy the car they wanted.
So you were match funding what they saved towards a car, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Well, that's two different approaches that would work very well in conjunction with each other, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I like both. We're quite brilliant with these ideas. Yeah, I like your approach as well. The go and earn a minimum wage and see what it can feel like, and that certainly would have it did give me the incentive not to be working for minimum wage. Oh gosh, I'm going back more years than I care to remember, but yeah.
I quite enjoyed working in the pub, I must say, and waitressing. But we're getting off the topic again. It's 11 minutes past. Tell us about your week.
Okay, so my week has been very family focused, actually. So interestingly enough, my children have been in Ibiza as well, which means that I have been able to look after the grandchildren, which has been fabulous. Now, I'm not the grandma that does all of the cooking, the cleaning and things like that. They have a very special nanny who does all of that work. I get to have all the fun stuff, so I can take them out on trips and things like that, in fact, I took them to the library so that we could listen to story time. That was interesting. Actually, I loved it. So I made interesting sound like it was a real problem. We had great fun there. Went shopping, and that, it's interesting because one of the things that I was thinking about while I was shopping was how different shopping with girls is with shopping with boys.
Yeah.
Many years, because I have two boys and now I've got all granddaughters. So the dynamics are very, very different for me in terms of looking after little ones. And I was shopping with the girls and they love to dress up. I mean, they'll put anybody's clothes on, shoes on, and love to dress up and be what they want. And the eldest, Maddie, she loves to be Spider-Man or Spider-Girl, and even does the hand signals and everything. And we went in this one particular shop. I promise you I am leading somewhere with this. And we went into this one particular shop and they had this amazing rack of fancy dress clothes. And the girls' eyes just kind of like popped out of their head. It's like, Mama, look. So we went over and we looked. I have never been so irritated and annoyed in all my life. I turned into that mad woman who talks to people, but not anybody in particular in a shop. Because what I noticed was top row was fancy dress boys for clothes and for boys, fancy dress clothes for boys. And we had firemen and astronauts and doctors, and I can't even think, there were probably about 10 really amazing fancy dress outfits. Bottom row, girls, princesses, that was it. I have never been so incensed. I was just going, girls, you can be what you want. A little one, you know, she was like, no, it's boys, because she could see the photo, you know. And I was like, no, you can be whoever you want. Take no notice of the photograph. Which one do you want, sort of thing. But I was so cross, really, really cross.
That's exasperating, isn't it? It wouldn't be so bad if you know, they are a bit tending towards the princess outfits at that age, aren't they?
Well, they kind of, do you know, they do, but at the same time, Maddie loves fire engines. I mean, part of the weekend, having time with her, this sounds really batty, but it's cheap. I recommend it for other people. Just walking past the fire station so that she can have a look through, you know, and I gave her an explanation of how it works, and somebody does 999, and, you know, just she was just fascinated. You don't need to spend a lot of money on children that age, I realised. But she's got a fire engine. She got that for her birthday, and then, you know, her little world collapsed for a moment when she thought she couldn't have a fireman outfit.
Oh, so, how old are they?
They're 2 and 4. So the 2-year-old wasn't so bothered. I mean, you know, you could put her in a little bin bag and she'd be quite happy. But the 4-year-old is, she loves dressing up and loves it to be special. You know, it's a really big thing for her.
And it sounds like
that's my little
mind. Yeah.
Really inquiring mind, you know. So it was kind of, well, why? I mean, she's at the why stage anyway. Why is there a photo of a boy? Why isn't there a photo of a girl? And she just asks really great questions, actually. Yeah, why isn't there?
It sounds like you have a great time. And you're seeing the world anew through their eyes, which is rather marvellous.
Completely anew, you know, and, you know, on a rather delicate subject, when little boys need to go for the toilet, you know, when they're cut short in the park, that's really easy. For little girls, oh my gosh, I was running around all over trying to find a ladies, you know.
I know.
Interesting.
So that's been your whole week, is it? No work stuff involved at all? Has it been like
No, I have been working. I'm actually working, you know, in and around all of that. I did make the girls the priority. I'm actually editing The Science of Getting Rich, and it's going to be specifically for women. So I'm rereading all the old classic development books that I've got, and what I'll be doing is creating a summary. But I'll tell you more about that in projects. That's the project I'm working on. Yeah.
Cool. So just to give us a little sense of where you are, where are you in the world?
I am in North London, in Watford. I'm not from here. I'm actually from the north of England. Not many people can pick that up from my accent, but really, I'm quite global. I'm like Judith. I'm a daughter of a serviceman, so I'm well travelled. You know, with those are the days where you were on a base for 2-3 years, and then you were picked up and taken somewhere else. So, but right now I'm in Watford.
And do you have a home office, and do you work from home, and then the company has its own office? How does that whole?
You know, I do. I have a studio, and I barely spend any time in it. I'm really, you know, it seems like I've had offices. I've had serviced offices before. I've spent so much money on serviced offices because I never turned up. You know, the team were in there, but I was never there. And then I just got this crazy, you know. So now it's, I've still got the studio. We tend to use that more for parties, if I'm to be particularly honest.
There's something in the garden, is it?
It's in the garden, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's got two rooms to it. So one is like a small shed, for want of a better description, and then the other part that's attached to it is, you could run training courses in it. So it's particularly big. But I find myself working at my dining table more often than not, just because it's quick and it's easy. And, you know, sometimes what I'll do is if I'm training any of our directors, and I'm working quite a lot of the De Vere hotels, we do our trainings, then I'll find myself just staying there a little bit longer and doing work there. But it's, you know, it comes back to that laptop lifestyle, doesn't it? I don't have to work anywhere in particular. I can work where I am.
Yeah, I work in my dining room at an iMac, and I try to get away from there sometimes, and, you know, go and work on my laptop in the kitchen or in the garden.
Yeah.
The thing I find limits me is the internet connection. I live in a little fisherman's cottage, and the flint walls just stop the signal dead in its tracks. So trying to go in the garden or the kitchen or anywhere else to work is just a real pain, because there's not much internet to speak of. You know, it's so bad that even you go even finding somewhere to do a Facebook Live video is a challenge, because of course it stops the phone signal as well. So that's my biggest annoyance at the moment, which I'm trying to work my way around.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of flint walls, but yes, they were meant to keep the hardy weather out, weren't they? So I can imagine that Wi-Fi signals are,
Yeah.
well, they weren't even thought about when flint walls were being created, were they? But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's fueled your fire this week?
Do you know what? It's interesting. I'm going to backtrack a little because one of the things that I listened to, I listened to your podcast frequently, and I don't know if it was the last one or the one before last, but you personally, you were talking about, you're not using the expression goals anymore. You're talking about desires and intentions, and I love that. I think it's just, what you desire. I think it's just a delicious word, isn't it? Desire. It's sort of an intention. It's more intentional versus goals, which to me feel really clunky and heavy. So what's been lighting my fire this week is the fact that because I'm editing this book, The Science of Getting Rich, which is the old classic by Wallace Wattles, I have just absorbed myself in all of my old books. I love reading. If it's fiction these days, it tends to go on Kindle. But if it's the older books, then I love getting the old, the broken spines, and they're all falling apart. I mean, when I'm talking old, I'm talking 100 years plus, and smelling them. And so I've had the opportunity to go back to all of those and actually go into the old classics and into all of the old metaphysical works that I've been studying for 20 plus years. And I have absolutely loved absorbing myself in it. I've forgotten how delicious it was, actually. Because, there's nothing new, is there, Nicola? When you think about all of these books that are being written these days of law of attraction and manifestation, they're just crafted from the old works, really. So I like to go back to source and to read where they came from. So that's pretty much what's fueled my fire this week. It's just immersing myself in reading and reading more.
It's interesting. I told Judith I'd been getting quite woo-woo recently, which she obviously loved. I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the law of attraction, but while I realised that when I was 38 and read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and started setting, working, that was a great book for me to start with because it was all the good stuff, but it was couched in very practical language. And I really, when it comes to the more esoteric stuff, I have really struggled. But I've got to say that, thinking about my last since 2010 when it all went horribly wrong, the first part of my life when nothing was happening, in spite of, wanting more. And then the bit between sort of 98 and 2006 when I started reading books like 7 Habits and, Rich Dad, Poor Dad and E-Myth and all that stuff. And when everything went absolutely brilliantly with the money gym and the hotel and all that stuff. And then when it all went horribly wrong again in 2010, and the struggle I had to get back on top after that, which really has only started to happen in the last 3 years. What's been different? Whenever I look at it, what's been different? The only thing that's been different has not been me and my skills. It's been what's been going on in my head and my self-confidence. And so I've started, opening up a lot more to this whole law of attraction thing and the whole thing about you're creating in the moment. There's only ever now, the present time. There's no past, there's no future. There's no point in regretting the past, worrying about the future. You've got to keep a grip of what's going on in your head right now, because that's what is going to create what happens to you in the future, what you're doing right now, what you're thinking right now. And so I've been rereading several books like that as well, the more esoteric stuff rather than the how-to stuff. So I'm right with you there. And I think when you read them the first time, you sort of gallop through them looking for the secret, the one magic key, the golden key, the push magic button, whatever you call it. And then when you go back and reread them, you're actually a lot more open and receptive to some of the more deeper lessons, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's really interesting you say that. One of the things that Wallace Wattles says in the book is reread it and just completely immerse yourself in it. And it's such a thin book. I mean, you could, if you chose to, you could just read it in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first couple of hours that you spend reading it it didn't make any sense to me. And like you, I was like, okay, I didn't get that. So, and then it's like, I know I meant to, and I say everybody, lots of people, mentors were saying, it's an amazing book, really read it. And I trust the old books. And also it's, many years ago, I studied Thomas Troward and Ernest Holmes, who created Science of Mind. And they're kind of the stalwarts. They're not the modern age law of attraction people. They're the real kind of the foundational stuff, and I've great respect for all of that, because what they haven't done is they haven't gone, oh, and by the way, you need to do it on a full moon facing north in a garden where there's petunias, whatever it may be. They haven't done that. It's clean. It's really clean. And sadly, I think, Nicola, what's happened over the years is people are taking it, and in their desire to create something anew, as a marketing strategy, then they've added elements that actually aren't necessary. So then people think it's complicated. They think it's more woo-woo than it is. Thomas Troward was a real literary buff in his time. He was an amazing intellectual man. I'm trying to think. I'm going back to the 1800s here, but he was a real intellect and very well respected in his field. And nobody thought that he was woo-woo. It's just kind of, he published his works. He was he would go on lots of stages, not so dissimilar to speakers that we have now, but he was very, very well respected, not just in his field of literature, but also in the field of creation and understanding, because they actually saw it as a science. So it was a very factual thing, where I mean, this is only my opinion, but I just think what's the great shame is it's become more woo-woo over the years because people have made it so. And if we go back to the basics, if we strip it all back, and that's what I really want to do, strip it all back and go back to those basics and the original works, it's an orientation and a science that's so easy to follow. A 5-year-old could do it. Well, 5-year-olds do. They don't even realise
they do it effortlessly. Yeah. Can I just ask you to email Judith after the call with your book? So you mentioned 2 authors there, and also The Science of Getting Rich, because I think a lot of people listening to this might get confused and think that we're talking about that other book that was written by the journalist. What's that called? The
Secret.
No, the one who was tasked by the steel baron to go around interviewing successful people.
Oh, Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yeah. That for me, there was a little bit too much face north in a full moon on that one, but the metaphor. I liked it, but there was do this mantra, do this, do that. It's like, it's got to be easy.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll put all the links to the books that Jacqueline's talking about in the show notes. This is I think this is episode 90. Oh my God, you're on episode 90.
Oh, wow.
Exciting. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one, because I'm always a little bit vague about the episodes. But we'll put it in the show notes. So What's Fueled My Fire has been also rereading some of the classics like that. But I've also been working through John Penberthy's YouTube training. And I watched his free, this is an absolute classic marketing thing, is he gave away such great information in the free launch videos that I thought, blimey, I really wasn't going to buy it. I wasn't going to buy it. And then I did buy it, because the stuff he gave away in the free videos was so good. I thought I really just got to get a look at it. It was a 30-day, money back guarantee. So I thought, and I never ask for money back guarantees, by the way. It's not something I do, regularly. But I thought it gave me on this occasion a little bit of measure of, if there's nothing new in there, because obviously it's difficult for me to find something new because I've seen most of it. But he actually, in this training, has given me 5 or 6 brand new tips that I've never come across. They seem blindingly obvious when he points them out, but really, really good quality training. Love the way it's all set out. My daughter's starting to work through it now because she's making YouTube videos. And if it helps your YouTube videos get more views, then and also it can only help when you're putting it up on your website and Facebook as well. Really enjoying that. I love a nice bit of new training. I'm trying to resist, but I couldn't resist this one. So well done on the marketing, John.
I'm the same. trying to do is it. So John Penworthy, what he's training in then is YouTube. That's his niche. That's his speciality, is it?
Yeah, he does. He comes at it from two angles. He comes at it from the angle of if you make better YouTube videos and put them on YouTube better, because remembering, of course, that Google owns YouTube. So Google are very keen to show videos on the front page of the search results. So if you follow John Penworthy's method, you're much more likely to get your videos onto high up in YouTube for a start. But also, if Google like the way you've set up your SEO on the video, they are quite likely to show you on the front page of Google. And of course, when you're looking at a search result for a specific term and you see a video, you're much more likely to click the video than you are to click any of the other links, because it's just more interesting and entertaining looking. It stands out more. So lots of good, solid.
That sounds amazing.
Good, solid principles behind it.
I'll have a look at his work, actually. Yeah, mainly because I've challenged myself to be more visible on video. And I love that you're actually doing the live ones, the Facebook Live. I did ones. I looked like my grandma. I was like, what's this button here? That's what they were saying. And and I was being so vain, Nicola. I didn't wear my glasses. I couldn't see what I was doing, and it was quite funny. Not so bad, bearing all of that in mind. But I have immense respect for anybody who is doing Facebook Live, and I've challenged myself to do that. I'll ease myself into it more once I've completed on my project. But I've loved seeing your videos. Do you upload them to YouTube as well, or do they just stay live?
Yeah, no. You download them from Facebook and upload them to YouTube. So it's leverage again. Filling up my YouTube channel. Yeah. It's going onto my blog. I'm filling in the gaps on my membership site by doing YouTube videos by doing Facebook Live videos about particular topics. So it's creating content from everything. The other thing it's made me do is have a haircut. I'm going to be revealing my new haircut on Facebook Live today. So, I couldn't stand.
You're having your haircut today?
No, I had it.
And then you're going on Facebook
yesterday.
Live.
Yeah.
Oh, you had it cut.
Yeah.
Right. Brilliant.
The way my hair looked on Facebook Live every single day, no matter how much I blow dried it and tried to make it look nice, that haircut just wasn't working for me, so it had to go. Anyway, let's move on.
No, I'm just not going to move on 1 minute, because I do want to say this. I do recall on one of your Facebook Live videos, you were like with the fringe, and sorry, I'm doing actions with my hands that nobody can see. So you were fluffing around with your fringe and said, I need to have a word with my hairdresser. That cracked me up because it was so authentic. It was like in the moment. It was like, yeah, I could relate to that. That's the thing. Anyway, I'll let you move on.
Anyway, and the other thing I'm going to do today on my Facebook Live is to talk about why Facebook Live is important, because so many people aren't getting the point on it. So that's one of it, to be authentic. Yeah.
If you are bored by working for someone else, or tired of trading time for money, or a business owner who's ready to travel and have adventures, then Own It the Summit is for you. We interviewed 18 inspiring entrepreneurs enjoying unique lives. Now you can dip into those lives and decide which of the business models will work for you. Our interviews will show you how to design your dream life beyond the laptop and how to live and work in your favourite ways and places. Our intrepid 18 share the tools and techniques they use to work on the go and what living and working in total freedom really feels like. Find out more at ownitthesummit.com.
So what's our client challenge of the week then?
Well, interestingly enough, I've had in probably the last 10 days, as opposed to a week concise today, I've had several clients. This is no one client. Several clients coming to me, and what they want to do one of two things. They either want to amplify their own business, so leverage what they've already got and maybe franchise or license it. And the other is that they love the business that they're in, but they want to create a new business. I think they're just in love with the idea of creating businesses. Sometimes I think I'm perhaps not the best mentor to work with them, because I get so excited about business creation, and I'm like, yeah, let's go for it kind of thing. But what the challenge is more what limits them from doing it. And it comes back to, we originally started the podcast today talking about how the Athena network was created, and I didn't see the potential. I just knew that there was potential there. I didn't know what it was. I genuinely didn't know what it was going to look like in 1 year, let alone in 10 years' time. But it's taking that real leap of faith, but doing it because there is that glimmer inside of you, rather than I feel I should be doing this, or I feel I should. Whenever I have a client say, yeah, I suppose we should have a conversation about franchising or licensing, it's like, no, we're not going to do that, because you need to put your heart, body and soul into it. It's and likewise with starting a new business. So I want to start something new because there's not enough revenue in this one. Well, that's not the conversation we should be having. We should be looking at the revenue in the old one, not the old one, but the original one. Where's the revenue going to come from? And so I guess the real challenge is what vision, or the lack of vision sometimes, that people I've worked with are feeling in regards to moving into the future. They're not able or not willing to actually see what it possibly could look like. They're so fixed in the now and needing to make money in the now, and pay their mortgage or whatever else it is that they need to do. And because the mortgage is important, obviously, and rent. So the real challenge is working with people who feel that they should be doing something and they don't have the vision for what they want to create next. How about you?
Because I think people come to me because they want me to tell them the right way to do things. So, technically I know all the tools. Yesterday Phoebe came, we had, she's got a WordPress website. We set up a get drip email thing box. We set up a redirect page so she could put something on her YouTube videos that redirected people into a mailing list. We did it all in about 2 hours flat, because I knew which tools were the best tools for that particular job in her circumstances. So I don't get that so much. I more get the people who've got a vision and who don't know how to realise that vision in practical terms. Who just want me to tell them what the best thing to do is. So your people are, they're coming to you. They've got a business generally, which they're not very enthusiastic about, or it's paying the bills. Talk me through a scenario.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's ticking over. They've got a business, and I can relate to that. I've been in that situation. It's ticking over, but it's not lighting their fire anymore. So they're looking for something new, instead of actually focusing on how could my fire be relit. How can my passion be relit in the business that I'm already in? How could I create more products and services on the business that I'm already in? It's the interesting, bright, shiny object syndrome, where they think that they need to start something new to be able to fulfill their desires, if you like. That they just turn their backs on what they've already got. But there is so much hidden potential in everybody's business. Mine, I know that there is, and so much I haven't explored. So maybe my clients are a reflection of me, actually. I kind of like coach myself around that point. Interesting. Yeah.
Here's a thing, because I've had membership sites before, mentoring membership sites, and they've, I've never really given them 100% focus. They never really took off in the way that James Schramko's has, for example, where he's got 2,000 or 2,500 members. Wow. He just devotes himself 100% to giving value to those members and surfing. And that is it now. He's sold everything else, So I've been reading lots of books around the one thing and essentialism and all that business. So I felt quite unenthused at the idea of having another membership site, even though it is the thing that will take me into my retirement. So, and also, I only got really excited about it again when I realised that I have got this wealth of knowledge about how to do stuff, and it was just sitting there, not helping anyone. That was the thing. All the time I haven't got a repository for all that knowledge that's publicly available, accessible, whatever, at an affordable fee. Then I was just almost what's the word I'm looking for? Being selfish, because I wasn't sharing that knowledge. And then I had Clicks and Leads. This was all last year. So I had Clicks and Leads, which was I focused on 100% last year. And it did really, 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 really well at the beginning of the year, and then really well sort of throughout the middle of the year. And then because Steve wasn't very well on regular occasions and I had to look after him, I took my eye off the ball completely, really, although it did tick over. But I took the eye off the ball on the marketing front. And it started to languish towards the end of last year. And then I got to this point. The other thing that was happening last year was I took on a new mentor who is a really, really old friend whose opinion I respect enormously. And he started to say things like, okay, well, ClickSneeze is great. You're always going to have the solopreneurs coming to you on that. But it's the challenges in that business, which are that solopreneurs generally don't have a proven product. They tell you they're in for the long haul, but actually they're not. They're looking for a magic wand again, all this stuff. So all the challenges I'd identified with ClickSneeze, he said, could be overcome by going corporate. And it was just at the same time when Gary Vaynerchuk was starting to move into London. And I got quite excited about that whole idea. But at the end of the day, when Steve then died and I examined all my priorities and what was really, really important to me, I realised that the going corporate was a should. It was something I should do, not something I actually really wanted to do. So I'd wasted half a year on setting up a new corporate website, trying to identify a market that was corporate that we could go into. I'd even created a software app as a door opener for that corporate market. And all of that, I sort of felt enthusiastic about it, but looking at it and doing all this personal development work over the last couple of weeks has made me realise that it was a should. So I was doing exactly what your clients were doing and coming to you saying, I want to do this, but actually not really deep down wanting to do it.
No, and that's the interesting thing. It's and I think when this is where the woo-woo bit does come in, I can sense that there isn't the desire, the devotion, the enthusiasm for it. So my job as their mentor and coach is to actually challenge that and to, and sometimes to just say to it, is it just because you've fallen out of love with your other business that you feel you should be doing this? It's interesting. Yeah, sorry, go on, Nicola.
It's less stressful to put your creative energy into an existing proven business that's got the foundation on. But, Judith always says it takes your clients a couple of years to catch up with you. So by the time people realise what you're doing, you're on to, the typical entrepreneur is on to something else. So isn't it less stressful, especially if you're working, with people in their sort of middle years, less stressful to put all your creative brain fart energy into new ways of marketing your existing proven business than it is to start something new? Why do we have this draw to it's almost like an addiction, Jacqueline?
It is, I think, and it's an entrepreneur's addiction, I think, and I've been guilty of it. Look, I decided to create a white label product. Having said that, I call that research. And I did love doing that. That's the distinction. I absolutely love doing it. Somebody else may do, what's the thing at the moment, Pokemon or Candy Crush or whatever else is going on online. For me, I just adored creating that brand. But with entrepreneurs, it is an addiction. They feel that you're absolutely right. They feel that they should be creating something else. And if they're not, that there's a problem. But they're not helped by the fact that there's mentors and coaches out there who would go, right, you've done that. Right, what's your next project? Kind of thing, moving them on. But it's an interesting one.
It is an interesting one. So when you work with people, you're working with them on the phone, are you?
On the phone, but I can also work live. So with my mastermind program, there's an element of live. So we meet at the Grove Hotel. Yeah. So there's a really, sublime day all together. It's a very small, intimate group, so it's a masterminding group. And the rest of the time we're using technology. So we use Zoom, for example, for our mastermind circles online. Yeah. And then the coaching I do on Skype. So I like to see my clients, actually.
Video Skype or just audio?
Video. I like to see them, yeah. They're occasionally, only because they feel more comfortable with it, but I may take them through a process, like very, very similar to a meditation. And some people can get a bit funny about, you might be looking at them while they're doing it. So I just go, for now, let's just turn the video off and then we switch it back on again.
I find it much easier to hear people's emotions and thought processes if I'm not looking at them, because I'm a visual person. I know you are. So I find my concentration on listening and feeling for what people are saying and thinking and feeling is so much better if I'm not looking at them.
No, I go for the sensory acuity. So what I can see is when something isn't congruent, like little shifts in the body and things like that. And I go, okay, so what's bad? So that's why I like to see them. But I completely understand what you're saying there. Sometimes we can really, if we've got the visuals all switched off, and sometimes I do that. I can be on visual with somebody, and then I'll actually close my eyes and say that again. And then, and I'm switching them off, if you like. I don't switch the video off, but I just close my eyes and sit with what they're saying. But I do, it's the sensory acuity. I can see the shifting, where their eyes are going and things like that. So I'm very, very focused on what else. It's kind of like I'm looking for what they're not saying when I'm seeing them.
Yeah. Okay. So, now, coming back to the topic in hand then. So if someone's feeling that they're doing something because they feel they should, like their intellect tells them, it's like, my intellect was telling me that, I should go corporate and that now was the time to do it. If VaynerMedia is moving into London, then there are enough companies that are serious enough about social media marketing to find clients in that arena. But in my heart, wasn't connecting to that. And I think it was only when I worked out what my own values are again now, especially bearing in mind my changed personal circumstances, that I was able to connect to the fact that actually that wasn't setting me on fire like it should. Do you have a similar, how do you help your clients when they sound to you like it's a should thing rather than a connection passion thing?
Well, it's interesting that you used the expression connection to the heart, because that's pretty much what I would ask them. I would say one of the first questions is what would you love to create? If they're talking about creation, they say I need to start a new business, then I use the language of creation. Let's see, if we've got a blank canvas, what would it look like? And ultimately, they can go back to, they realize it's not a new business that they want to create. It's that it's about the lifestyle that they want to create. For many of us, that is true as an entrepreneur. It's not necessarily the business. I love my business. I love the Athena network. But ultimately, what it means is that I'm able to serve more female entrepreneurs. There are many ways that I could have done that. I just chose this way. So when I'm working with a client, it is really finding out about what it is they would love, using the words like desire and devotion and intention. And they come to, well, you're a coach, and they do come to their own realization and 9 times out of 10, they go, do you know what? It's just that I'm so fed up, bored with my business. I was just looking for something outside of it. I guess it's like being married or in a relationship. It's the same kind of thing, isn't it? Women talk about, I don't know if you've had clients say this, but women talk, my business is my baby. But I think of business more like a marriage, a relationship. And it really needs date night. It needs some love and attention and expression and communication. And we don't always give it that. I don't, I say we, I'm using the royal we, I don't give it the love. So that's where I go to. I do go from a very, probably more like Judith, I'll go from a very esoteric approach and guide them lovingly back to what it is that they would love to create, as opposed to let's start with a new business.
They think they're seeing all the things that are wrong with it instead of the things that are right with it, which made them started in the first place. And I come at it from a point of view. I love the book Traction, and I think
I ordered it yesterday.
Just incredible.
Thank you. Your recommendation, I ordered it. Yeah.
And the way that it makes you focus on your business, and like you say, it's date night for your business. It's a quarterly day. Revisiting your values and your desires for the business and your desires for your lifestyle, and then making sure everything is congruent and fits, and then planning forward the next 90 days. Because, that's, the whole 12-week year book was all about humans can only do 90 days at a time. And that's why it's all based around this 90-day system. But that's like date night for your business. And if you I do it, and my sister Sarah and I sit in the garden on Mondays and go through what, are we on target with our rocks? And the kids have now asked me to do it. I've said we've got to do it together as like a little workshop, because I'm not doing it with both of you separately.
Yeah, no, it looks really good. Yeah, yeah.
So so you come at it from a but regular reviews of your business can help you fall back in love with it again. I believe that, because you reconnect to what made you start it in the first place.
That's the key, isn't it? It's like, take me back to when you first decided to create this business, the original business. And then it's interesting. It's like a, what do you call it? A boiler burner, where all of a sudden that little spark of light comes, and then that lights up all the heating in the house. But you need that tiny, tiny little spark to be lit. Yeah. And taking them back to their original vision is critical.
Yeah.
And I have to I have to let go of my desire to want to support them to create something new, because I love new projects. Yeah. So and it's got to be all about them, obviously, and what they and if it's true for them when we've finished and we've reviewed what it is they're doing. Yeah, actually, the business has got to a place now where somebody else could be running it, and it probably is true for you to start something new. But more often than 9 times out of 10, they stick with what they're already doing and they pour more love into it. But it is what would they love to create, and they realise actually they've already created it, they just haven't loved it enough,
Yeah, and I'm trying to love all my old stuff enough, trying to bring it back in and reshare it, especially the evergreen stuff. So the other thing I'm doing to stop myself starting new stuff and love my existing business is to have coping mechanisms when I wake up with an entrepreneurial brain fart. And so I've got a little mechanism now. Okay, so if you have a really good idea, you're allowed to buy one domain name. You're not allowed to make a WordPress website, but you are allowed to set up a Facebook page. And if in 3 or 4 days' time you're still as enthusiastic about it, we could look at doing a WordPress website next week. So I've got a few little coping mechanisms for slowing down the entrepreneurial creative brain fartery that I get.
Oh, love it. I really do love it. I tend to just write it down. I'd never even don't give me ideas. I'll be setting up Facebook pages now. I am shocking at buying domain names. We've had this conversation online, haven't we? Yeah. You, me, and Judith. I come up with this idea, and of course I think it's amazing and original, and nobody else would have thought about it. Blah blah blah. I had over 100. I don't now. They're whittling down, and I'm really being quite fierce with myself. It's like, seriously, you're going to do something.
No. I once worked for an entrepreneur who said he wrote down all his new business ideas, but he wasn't allowed to action them until after the following Sunday. So every Sunday, he'd review the ideas he'd had the week before, not during that week, the week before. And only if he still felt really passionate about them was he allowed to take any action at all. But I think the thing about doing a Facebook page is that it enables you to see if you get any natural traction. So if you have a Facebook page for a new business idea and you start putting stuff on it and you run perhaps a few ads just to see if anyone responds, it can give you a good barometer of whether you're onto a good one or not, because it'll get natural traction if you are.
Yeah.
But if there's a deafening silence, then you know that it's just one of your brain farts. We must crack on. We're running out of time. We're running out of time. I knew this would happen. Word of the week.
Integration is my word of the week. I'll explain why. And actually, it's integrating everything that we've spoken about now. It's going back, the integration of all my old learnings, my metaphysical studies, things that, I'd gone after bright, shiny objects, bright, shiny training, new trainers, mentors, coaches, all of this kind of thing. And actually, so integration and simplicity, if I could have 2 words, would be the other one. It's taking everything back to basics and integrating it into my life. So it's about keeping my life and my business, which is obviously part of my life, really, really simple, by integrating all of the knowledge, all of the resources that I already have. And like you, I'm committed to not doing any more training. It has to be exceptional for me to commit at the moment. And I was interested to hear that you'd given yourself like a year where you've got, right, nothing else. And I'd come to the same conclusion. You know, I'm a learning junkie.
Yeah.
And if I have an addiction, that's it. And it's like, no, now is the time to integrate it. Integrate, assimilate, create in my own business, you know, not create new businesses. Yeah, so that's my key one. How about you? What's yours?
Well, as often happens with me and Judith, my word of the week relates to what she's been talking about. It's like my word of the week is passion. Yeah, and that's because I was thinking about, you know, what makes people take action and what makes people not. And the thing that I see, if you're passionate about something, you don't need motivation because you're inspired. If you're inspired and you feel passion, you're just naturally going to take action. You just can't help yourself. You're drawn forward despite anything, any kind of brakes you try and put on. And so that's the word of the week is passion. So it relates very much to what you've been talking about with your clients, hilariously enough.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Project updates. What are you working on?
Well, my project update is I've got my deadline. I need to submit the final edit to my publisher of Think and Grow Rich Think and Grow Rich. That's we've just been talking about it. The Science of Getting Rich in Heels by Monday the 8th. So that's where I am. Right now, it's going through, and in the edit, what I'm doing is it really focused on bringing this. It's a wonderful, timeless book, and I do recommend everybody to read it. But I'm bringing it into the 21st century for women. But what I'm doing is giving an explanation of the premises that Wallace Wattle actually writes about, and that's the bit that I'm completing now. It's kind of, have I got enough? Have I summarised it sufficiently without making it too cumbersome? Because I've given myself a challenge of keeping something simple and keep it, you know, make sure that I maintain that simplicity of the original edition. So the 8th of August is my deadline for submission. So that's what I'm really focused on at the moment. That's my project update.
And I think that people listening might be interested in this. So is Science of Getting Rich out of copyright then?
Yes, it is. Right. Yeah, it was originally it was written in 1910. So you know, that was going completely off track because we could do a whole new thing on this, couldn't we?
Yeah.
It means that it's out of copyright and anybody can they can either publish it as, you know, as it is, or as I'm doing, they can edit and they can use parts and components of it.
Interesting. Yeah. So in the same way that there was a rash of Think and Grow Rich for blah, you've come up with the idea of doing it with the original book, actually, because Science of Getting Rich was the book that inspired Think and Grow Rich, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And if you read read Science of Getting Rich first and then read Think and Grow Rich, and actually if you put them side by side, one is so much thicker than the other. So I'd rather go with the thin one, the Science of Getting Rich. But what they've done is they've put the, you know, full moon facing north, create a mantra, blah, blah, blah. It's just embellished. There's the word I was looking for earlier. Yeah. There's just so much embellishment and complication. And people are trying to do it and it's not working. You know, people are doing it and it is working, but the vast majority are going, I'm just not getting it. It's like, no, because it's not simple enough. You're not integrating it into your life. So
there's also a lot of weirdness in Think and Grow Rich that a lot of us could live without.
Yeah, it's too verbose for me, to be perfectly honest. And I have been there, and I've really tried to read it and understand it, and I get it. You know, there are real advocates of the book who adore it, but for me, it's just an embellishment of the science.
I enjoyed the other one, actually, the one that Sharon Lecter co-contributed on.
Now she did the Think and Grow Rich for women, and I agree, it was absolutely brilliant. It simplified the original.
The one I'm thinking of is something about the devil, Conversations with the Devil or something. But she commented.
Oh, did she edited that one as well?
Yeah, she did, and she did a really good job on it. And I found it really interesting because, anyway, we won't go into that too much, but highly recommend if you've read these books and you enjoyed them, or you know, got something out of them, definitely read the one that's got something that's either Conversation with the Devil or something like that. But Sharon Lecter was, who of course was one of Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's co-contributor.
Yeah,
So
she
I know
worked with him,
that devil one. I
yeah.
forget what it's called now. I will have to look it up now and send it to Judith, won't I?
Yeah, you will. Yeah, no, I'd be interested in that myself. So please do that. Yeah.
So my project updates are that I have been following the theme of integrating everything and sticking to just two things, which are clicks and leads and my mentoring membership site, which is on new software, and I'm gathering everything into it. But I've been going through. I've been also reading the Ask book by Ryan Levesque. I read it when I first interviewed him on the podcast, Business Success Factory podcast last year. But I've picked it up again because James Schramko has been recommending it very highly, and I went through it again. Now I've actually been actioning it, so I've been probably anyone who's on my mailing list will have had some emails from me talking about, are you opening, are you clicking? I'm going to be deleting everyone who isn't, and I actually deleted 4,000, which was quite a scary thing to do, I can tell you. I exported and then deleted 4,800 people who hadn't opened or clicked on a link. I had to do both because some people read in preview pane, so it doesn't register as open even though it isn't open. So I actually went with people who hadn't clicked anything or interacted with anything in the last month. And that was quite a rigorous thing because normally they say 3 months, but I actually only want people who open, and click and take action within the last month. So my mailing list has been cut by 2/3, and I'm seeing my open rates go up dramatically. And now what I'm going to do is import those people to Facebook and run a re-engagement campaign on Facebook to get them to come back and opt in for something new. And then they'll go through the whole new ask sequence, which I've set in Infusionsoft. And what I've done is I've taken all the follow-up emails in Infusionsoft and organised them. So they're either in a sequence where people have said they're more interested in the business mind or the business marketing or the business money, because those are my three sort of buckets or themes, as you like. And so it's often very similar material in each email, but you just rewrite it to appeal to that kind of orientation. If someone's more interested in marketing, they just want marketing information, how to do marketing better. If someone's more interested in your business mind, as we spent the whole episode talking about today, then you rewrite your material to appeal to that kind of person. And if someone's really more interested in the money side of things, you put a money orientated spin on it. So everyone's going through the same sequence, but they're going through in one track or other, it's been a massive technological challenge to keep my head straight on it, but I'm really there now and I'm feeling really good about it. So that's my project update.
I love that. I love that you've culled so much. I did it with Facebook friends in inverted commas a couple of weeks ago. It was scary to start with. But do you know now, because they weren't friends, I literally went with, do I know you? Have we communicated? Have I even commented, or have you commented on anything I've said or done? And, in comparison to yours, I reduced the friends by 1,300. But what it means, Nicola, is I can actually see now people who I'm interested in. I can see their posts. I can engage. Yeah. So cool. But the next step is directing them to groups and pages and things like that. And I haven't done that. So
the thing that stops me getting rid of all my friends. I actually did do it a while ago, but then a lot of people have crept onto my friends list again. It's because I'm scared that they won't be able to contact me by message. And when I see that they're friends with people who I know could become clients, or they're friends of people who are top level people, I sort of think, they could be reaching out because I've heard about clicks and leads, and so that really scares me a little bit. But you're right, and now then I end up unfollowing them because perhaps their political leanings or their religious leanings are not the same as my own, and I have to unfollow their posts because their posts annoy me, but I don't want to unfriend them. So it is a challenge, that one. But I don't know how one can. You can't auto redirect a friend request to your page, can you? Which is a real shame.
No, I really wish that Facebook would come up with something like that, where you could actually, because I know that people who've got like 5,000 friends, they would just make contact and say, I'm full, but here, come and have a look at what I'm doing here. Or they might, not so much they'll get an email, but they'll put it on their banner, their Facebook banner. and say my friendship quota is full, please go and click on my page or whatever, which is quite a clever idea, but I certainly wasn't at that stage. Facebook for me is just so complex. It's like a dark art. I know it's not for you, but it's so I may have shot myself in the foot, who knows, time will tell. But at the minute I don't feel so cluttered, let's put it that way.
Good. Who or what's impressed this week?
Well, it's actually been over the last several weeks, but I watch very, very little television, and what has been impressing me, and it's quite interesting, I'm thinking, it's still got a business leaning. I have been watching Brief Encounters on ITV.
Say again?
And I've absolutely loved it.
Say
Brief Encounters.
Brief Encounters. And what are they? What's that about then?
Well, it's based in the 1980s, which is an era I'm very, very fond of. So there's 1980s music as well. And it's about the lives of 4 ordinary women, all from, quite different backgrounds, and their husbands, their partners, their mothers, families, etc. And what they have become are Ann Summers party plan saleswomen. And so it's a comedy, and it's based on it's based on Ann Summers. It's actually based on Jacqueline Gold's memoir, which was Good Vibrations. And it's just seeing the journey that these 4 women go on, who are committed to bringing a sexual revolution to Sheffield, which was interesting, but also creating a lifestyle for their family. And I think that's what I've enjoyed most about it, that seeing the nucleus of a distributorship, direct marketing, seeing how it was created and seeing how the women have evolved as a result of actually earning additional income for themselves, and that with the little cameo roles of people who come in and the family dynamics that are going on, because not all of the men were thrilled that their partners were selling lingerie and sex toys.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's real comedy as well. And one of my favourite actresses is Penelope Wilton, and she plays one of the 4 key characters. And Angela Griffin, she's the other one. I love Angela, and it just is. I splurt with laughter, and that doesn't often happen. It's a comedy. I mean, I love laughing, but when I'm watching television, that doesn't often happen. And particularly when I'm on my own, and then I'm chortling away, and it's just so funny. And I love the era anyway, 1980s. The music is amazing.
It's gone straight off my list. Yeah.
Honestly, it's just, but again, as an entrepreneur, I'm watching it through 2 filters. I'm watching it for the comedy aspect, but I'm also wow, this is amazing. They had nothing. Their husbands were being laid off work. There were Pauline Wilton's husband is a butcher, and then there's the new supermarkets are opening, so the butcher is really affected by sales, and there's just lots of little things that are going on. So
love it.
It's been a brilliant production. I've loved it. Yeah.
Well, is it on Netflix, or can you get it on box sets? Where would one find it?
No, you'd be able to get it on ITV Player. You'll be able to pick it up.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to sort that out. It sounds like it's something we'd enjoy enormously. I also have a television show which has impressed me this week, and as anyone who was around on my timeline yesterday couldn't have failed to notice, I started watching Brian Cox, Forces of Nature, and he's really good anyway. He's a very gently spoken man. He's very passionate about. I think he's a physicist. He's really very brainy indeed, young. And he's very passionate about what he does, so that feeds into my word of the week. But I started watching it because I think my son put me onto it, and I have to watch it late at night because nobody else wants to watch it. But it blows my mind every week. The first one I watched was about the snowflakes, and I was still right in the middle of sort of the grieving thing was full on at that stage. And he was talking about how parallel universes are going on all the time around us, and he really explained it very well. He made it very simple. What you were saying about science of getting rich, it was very simple. He manages to take mind-bending concepts and explain them really simply, and he was talking about how parallel universes are happening around us every single minute. This whole thing about the past is the past, the present is the present, the future is the future. Past is gone, not happening, so all we've got is in the now. But he made it sound like that everything you've ever done is happening. The space-time continuum, basically, he was talking about, and there was a diagram or a animation that showed you that everything that's ever happened to you is happening over and over again somewhere in the universe. And everything that's going to happen to you, there are infinite possibilities about how that could happen based on what you do now. And I just thought, my God, this is the whole law of attraction thing summed up in a science program. And the interesting thing that it did was it gave me a lot of comfort in the fact that all of those magical moments that have happened over and over, that have happened in the past are still happening somewhere out there in the universe over and over again. Okay, that means the bad bits are still happening, but we don't pay attention to that. So I focus on the positive. So it made me feel very happy, that thought. And then the next week, he was talking about I can't remember, he came out with something last week that was just amazing. I'm going to have to go and watch the program again to pick up on it. But last night, I suddenly thought, I can Snapchat this and capture what he's saying. And the two quotes that he came up with last night, it was amazing. He was talking about an acorn, and he was talking about the elements of the universe and how there's only 90 basic elements, and how most life is made up of 15 basic elements. And when you think that he was in a wood, and he was showing about, the trees and the moss and everything. And he picked up this acorn, and he said, this, and he told the story of the elements, the 15 elements that made up that acorn, and what's happened, how that acorn's come from a star exploding back in billions of years ago, etc., etc. And he said, life is just the temporary home of the immortal elements that make up the universe. And I just thought that was so incredibly profound. I was nearly in tears. It was so good. And
my God, yeah.
And then in the same, if you go to my timeline, you can actually see it, because I managed to capture it on the telly. He said, he was talking about moths to the flame. And I mean, the photography on this program is just stunning. He says, right at the end, he says, we are of the earth, constructed from a ready supply of chemical elements forged in the stars. And I just thought, unbelievable. Who's writing this script? It's just incredible. So that's who's impressed me. Forces of Nature with Brian Cox. I think it's only a 4 or 6.
Where do I find that?
It's on the telly at the moment, and I'm not sure.
Right, okay.
But we'll put a link because it's honestly so well worth watching. It's the photography's stunning, the music's stunning. Professor Cox is brilliant at simplifying complex concepts, and the corkers they come out with, and it all feeds into and makes me believe that perhaps those people you were talking about in the 1800s had figured this stuff out for themselves in advance.
Oh, I absolutely believe it. I genuinely do. I just think it's been embellished since, and the 1800s and before that, I'm convinced, which is what the original writers would have said. But that sounds right up my strata, so I'm definitely going to be looking for Forces of Nature. If you're
not a religious person and you think there might be something in the law of attraction, but you've been put off by all the religion aspects of it, this is the one to watch, because it's like science is finally catching up with what people like Leonardo da Vinci used to go for a meditate every day. I mean, people thought he was astral traveling or whatever, but if people like Leonardo da Vinci back in the 15th, 16th century were tapping into what Brian Cox is only just telling us about now, then it's a damn good way to reconcile the law of attraction with a more secular approach to life. That's why I'd say.
Yeah.
That's been great, Jackie. We've gone way over time. Judith will be switching in her farmhouse in France, but hey, whatever. She's not here, so she can't stop us. It's been a thorough pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much. Guest co-host today, Jacqueline Rogers, and you can find her at the AthenaNetwork.com.
Yep.
Yeah, the AthenaNetwork.com. And also you can find her on at ownitthesummit.com, because she was one of our summit guests. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me. And thank you, Judith, for being away, so I had the opportunity. Okay. You take care. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
It's
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.